So that brings us to the shutdown. Despite the Speaker's statements to the contrary,
we don't want to shut the government down. I do not want the United States to default on its debt.
Animosity and intractable intolerance of Republicans and Democrats for each other has led to this.
All right, so we wanted to have a very lively and spirited debate today, so we are joined now by Tea Party member and insurance broker C. Stephen Tucker and Illinois Democratic Congressman Luis Gutierrez, whose book, Still Dreaming, My Journey from the Barrio to Capitol Hill, is now in stores. So welcome to you two as well.
Thank you.
Well, a lot of people, Congressman, are not happy with you and your colleagues on the Hill, and there are a lot of blame games going around. Who do you think is to blame for this situation with the government being shut down?
First of all, I went to Congress to expand health care, to give everybody in America, at least at a minimum, what every member of Congress has. We have health care, takes really good care of my wife and my children and me. Why is it that I, as a member of Congress, should deny that ability to every American to have the same access to health care? And so, when you take a continuing resolution, which is only going to fund the government for 8 weeks, that's all it is, until we have a budget, and you say, unless you eliminate Obamacare, which is what they call it. It's actually the Affordable Care Act. But they like to demonize it, so they figure, let's call it what it's not. Let's give it a name that has some pejorative connotation to it. I really like Obamacare. I call it Obamacare everywhere I go. Forget about the Affordable Care Act. It is what it is. It is the health care plan that was passed by President Barack Obama. Now, we passed it in the House. We passed it in the Senate. I remember they said, oh, it'll be unconstitutional. We went all the way to the Supreme Court. Boom. Supreme Court says it's constitutional. Then we had an election. Everybody remember the election last November 6th? Yeah. Their party said, if we win, we're going to eliminate Obamacare. Well, 5 million more people voted for Barack Obama than voted for the Republican nominee. It sounds to me like we won. Now, moving forward, they now say, if you're going to get a continuing resolution, we're going to hold hostage the government of the United States for something that we lost in the legislative branch, we lost at the Supreme Court, and that we lost before the American people, the most important court of the land. So all I have to say is, I went to expand health care for the American people, and I'm not going to allow someone to pass a continuing resolution which diminishes the ability of people to gain access to the health care they so need.
Stephen Teller, I know that, Stephen Teller, I'm sorry, that's the rock star. Tucker, you disagree a lot with what the Congressman just said, I'm sure, but is it the moral thing to do to shut the government down to get their way, Republicans get their way here?
No, I disagree with the President's decision to shut it down. What should have been done...
Why is it the President's decision to shut it down?
Why is it the President's decision?
Yeah.
Well, the Republicans, under the Constitution, as you notice I'm wearing my tie, we the people, the Constitution says that we have separations of power in Congress, and the House has the ability and the power to decide what they want to fund and not fund. So they send all the funding over to the United States Senate to fund every function of government except for the Patient Protection Affordable Care Act, Congressman. It's not the Affordable Care Act. And that we didn't have any funding for that because there are millions of people all over the nation that are losing their health insurance plans right now. The President promised that you can keep your plan if you like your plan. I have clients that are losing their health insurance plans. They did nothing wrong, and their deductibles are increasing. Their out-of-pocket expenses are going to $12,700 a year.
I want to stop you for 1 second there. Why is it then that the House voted 46 times just to repeal it, as opposed to trying to fix some of those things? I think everyone agrees, including the President, agrees there are major problems with this that need to be addressed. Yes. 3 major provisions of this have been changed since July. Yes. So if that's in fact the case, why not just start to work on dealing with it as opposed to tearing the whole thing out?
Yeah, well, we tried to fix many portions of it, but every time it gets to the Senate, it's blocked. Because this is the President's signature law. I understand why he's defending it, because it is his signature law, and he's very proud of it. So are most Democrats like the Congressman. But those of us in the health insurance field, we're dealing with the ramifications of this law every day.
But let me ask you this. How do you justify shutting down the government because you don't like Obamacare? Tying Obamacare, Affordable Care Act, to the budget and running the government, why does that have to be tied in and shut down the government in order to get... It's like the Congressman said, for the average person, I would think it's like holding something hostage. Okay, you know, my mom and I are having a fight. Well, my brother and I can't figure things out. Well, you both won't go. It's like there has to be some give or take there.
I agree, and I think what Republicans did by funding every function of government except for the Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act is much agreement between both parties. Every function of government should be funded. That's why the Republicans appropriate all that money. The Senate has the right under the Constitution to decide whether they want to accept that money and spend it or not. They chose not to do that, and that is why we are in a partial government shutdown. Only 17% has been shut down.